Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. You're all very welcome, and hopefully everybody can see and hear me okay. My name is Mihal, and I'll be moderating the webinar today and looking after everybody. Joining me on the call is my colleague, Eamonn McGuiness. Eamonn, you're very welcome. Eamonn is the manager here at BrightWork 365 here at BrightWork, which is our project and portfolio management solution, which we'll be taking a look at today. So one of the biggest challenges that we hear from project managers is their project management is spread across multiple tools, silos, and even physical locations. So this often leads to gaps in sharing information or project tracking, and it increases the chances of items falling through the cracks. So today we're going to look at how to create a consistent standard, which is only possible through a PMO. And we're going to look at that through the lens of BrightWork 365. So we have loads to go through today, but just a couple of housekeeping items before we go any further. We are assuming and we hoping that you have lots of questions throughout the demonstration. So if you do have any questions, please just add them to the questions panel up in the top right there for me, I think it is. You might need to expand it out to ask a question. Please do test it out as we go along to say hello. Once Eamonn has finished his presentation and the demonstration, we will answer as many questions as we can. Secondly, this webinar is being recorded, so don't worry too much about taking any notes or anything like that. We will send a recording out tomorrow. It'll come from my colleague Adam. So keep an eye out for an email with that. And of course, we'll share any slides that come through that we use today. So let me just, before I hand over, I just want to run a quick poll. Just to get a sense of who we've got on the call today. I just want to know, are you folks using Microsoft 365 Project Portfolio Management? So maybe you're using it extensively, maybe you're using it, but you struggle to bring PPM all together. You might be using it just for Outlook and Office, or it's something you've not really given much thought to before. So I'm just going to let this run for a couple of seconds, and I appreciate it, folks, if you just if you would just fill it out. Already people I can see that people are answering for the top answers, which is great. You're in the right place. So just let that run a little bit further. All right. Thanks, folks. Really appreciate that. So, Eamon, what's interesting about that, if you're there and you can hear me, is that most people answered that yes, they do use Microsoft 365, but they struggle to bring project portfolio management all together. Or they said that they use it for Outlook and Office. Those are the two major answers that people answered. So I find that really interesting, and I think people are in the right place for our presentation today.
Great, Michal. Thank you very much. I am indeed here, and I can indeed hear you as well. We'd be in right trouble if I couldn't. So thank you, folks, for joining us today. And as you know, the theme or the topic today is using Microsoft 365 for a centralized project management office. And if you look into Microsoft 365, which is kind of the middle and right-hand part of the chart, you'll see Teams, SharePoint Online, Azure Active Directory for security, Word, Excel. You'll see Power Apps, which are great for forms and processes, Power BI reporting, Power Automate for workflows, and Dataverse as an amazing engine. So there is a large amount of infrastructure in Microsoft 365 already. It's just to package it together to enable you to create a centralized project management office. And that's what we've done at BrightWork. And if you look at the left-hand side of the slide, we've used the experience where for many years and still today, we have a project management solution, project office solution on the Microsoft SharePoint platform. Now, it's terribly important, of course, to have the right tooling, and it's at least half the battle. But even with the right solution, and we'll demonstrate that a little bit later, even with the right solution, you got to figure out what's your approach how do you introduce a centralized project management office? How do you go from here to there? And our experience has been a start evolve approach. Some people might call it crawl, walk, run, but it doesn't have to be a crawl to start. It can be a fast start. And it's start by putting in an amount of project management that gives you visibility and control across all your projects very quickly. Now, you mightn't put in a huge amount of project management to do that, but you'll put in enough. And then you see where you're at and gradually evolve your project management processes and maturities. So that's our approach, but our approach is also baked into the actual design of the software with the templates, configuration, and other options as well. So it's a deployment approach, a change management approach, but it's also baked into the software. So for today's demo and walkthrough, what we'll do is we'll demo using that approach. How might you start to create a centralized project management office? What might an evolve be, and what might a second evolve be? All right, so we'll head straight to demo. Here we go. And I will just turn off my camera not to distract myself as much as yourselves. So if I give you a quick orientation here, so we're on the home page of what is called BrightWork 365, which is a solution for a centralized project management office. And here we have requests for new projects. Should we do them? Should we not? The resulting projects, and then those projects rolled into programs and portfolios. And if you look on the left-hand side, we have a place for my work, which would be, what is it I have to do to keep my end up on the projects? We have a place for dashboards, and we'll be drilling into all of these in a couple of minutes. And what dashboards is doing is helping us understand how are we doing as a team? How are we doing as a project or as a group or as a department? So my work, how am I doing? Dashboards, how are we doing? And then the help, of course, is the help not only into the solution, but some project management help as well, because that's really what you're doing. Is you're setting up project, program, portfolio, centralized project management office. So, for example, the training that we have in our knowledge base acknowledges that. So it's not just tool training, if you like. The requests then, continuing down the left of the nav, the requests is really where you get to, as a group, to the governance, where you say, help us get the right projects off on the right foot. Make sure that less projects are challenged or failed. Projects is where you can see into all the projects. And for each project, what you're really trying to do is set up that project with the right amount of process for that project and the team you have. And that, as we'll see, will vary. Portfolios and programs are where you navigate to see the collections of portfolios, programs, and projects within them. And then these are all underpinned by templates. So in the templates area, you have templates that are used to govern how you want to manage requests, how you want to manage projects, and your reporting and so on. So in summary, it's requests, projects, portfolios, all driven by templates. Templates that give you a start, but templates that are configurable so you can start quickly and evolve them to the project management process that you wish. Look, as Michal noted, folks, please do ask as many questions as you like, and as you think about your questions, just pop them on the stack, and we'll be delighted to answer them. So, where might one start? Well, as part of our start service, one of the things we do is we'll help you create a project management success strategy. That's one of the deliverables. Doesn't have to be terribly complicated, but it is important to have it very clear. And you get an indication of, some of the elements of that here. So your strategy is really governing where you start rather than this bit of the tool or that bit of the tool. So if we were to, oops, there we go. If we were to say this is a possible start that your project management success strategy might indicate, and we'll demo this in a second. So your project management success strategy might say, look, put in a project light template to begin with, and make sure we have a reasonable amount of project management using the kind of stuff you see on the slide here, and we'll demo in a sec, as I say, and get all the projects using that. And that's really targeting and helping your project managers. And then also maybe make it really clear to the team members what work they have to do so that they can easily collaborate and contribute to the project. And then thirdly, for your senior managers, give them some dashboards so that they have the visibility into where projects are. Some will be doing well, some challenged, some not so well. But the quicker you get this in, the quicker the visibility is there. And then managers and project managers can make the adjustments that are necessary, rather than spending months and years designing a perfect system and lots of projects are challenged in the meantime. So returning to the demo then. Oh, you have to click the right slide down. There we go, returning to the demo. So if I click in here to my projects and I look at this employee onboarding project, I'll see that there are actually 6 items I want to highlight that are part of the project light. So there's a charter, which is basically saying this is what the project's meant to do. There's the status, this is where we are with the project. There's the team roster, which are the people that have been given work on the project or are on the project and when they roll on and roll off. There's the Gantt or the schedule, which could be one task with start and end, or it could be many, many tasks and stages within it. There's a place for my work. What do I have to do? And a place for the documents or the deliverables. So now you could, of course, have less than this in your project light, and we'll show you how to do that very easily a little bit later. These other items here, project settings, approvals, they're just for the project manager. Extra configuration options for the project manager, and approvals, if there are approvals. You may wish to have approvals for certain parts of the project, and you may not want it on the project light. So that's what those are. So your team members wouldn't see these essentially. So so that's your project light. And the idea again is to get a reasonable amount of project management so you can help senior managers see what's going on. If we just have a quick look at this, say from a project manager point of view, I could go in here to the schedule and I can say, well, actually that one's done. So I'm going to mark it complete. That one's done. So I'm going to mark it complete. It's quite easy. Or you know what? I actually I prefer, I'm more of a keyboard warrior, so I can actually use the right mouse click and change things. So it's very simple and easy to interface with from if you like, a scheduling point of view. And then moving to the second part of your start, you make it very easy for people to see what kind of work they have to do. So this on one project is my work, and here you can see I can actually say, well, that one's done, and so they're done now. So if I go back to my work, and instead of open, if I look at my work completed, I can look at the completed work and say, well, I'm not really fully finished with that. So I'll move that back. And then when I go to my work open, it'll be back in the my work open queue. So as a team member, I can focus in a laser way on what I've got to do and what's done and what's not done and so on. And then if I click up here, my work in the top left, as a team member, I can see what is the work that I have to do across multiple projects. You see here, I've got different projects and showing up the work that I've got to do. Some of these work items are tasks. Some of these work items will be issues. If we were using risk management in your deployment, it would be risks as well. So it's the different actions, different kinds of work, and we'll see some of these in a few minutes. So my work on one project for me and my work across all projects, and I can see what's done. Now, the third part of your start might be dashboards. And here's some very simple dashboards. So for example, if I click here, and these use what are called the Power Apps dashboards. And in a couple of minutes, we look at the Power BI more sophisticated ones. So if I look at the projects dashboards, and these come out of the box with the product, and I just click here. Let's say I just want to see the projects by health. Actually, no, I just want to see the projects that are red and in danger. So you get the thinking. We put in a light project management template to begin with, reasonable amount of project management, make it easy for the project managers to manage lots of projects, all your projects. Number two, make it easy for people to see what work they've got to do across one or more projects. And number three, give your senior managers visibility into those projects. And then you let that run for a while. You let that run for a while. And what will happen is people will, of course, the project managers, team members, and senior managers will use all of this, will hopefully be able to, and will be able to exert control, fix issues because they'll have that visibility. And then we'll figure, some of the reasons that items aren't going so well is we need to mature or evolve our project management. So after the start is bedded in, at some point, you will revert to the project management success strategy, relook at what was on your backlog or the evolved candidate list, and pick the next set of stuff to evolve in delivering your centralized project management office. And these might be some of the things you do. These are just examples. So you might say, look, for some of the projects, and you can see on the diagram on the right, we have different templates come with the product. For some, you might put in project standard template. We see that. For some, you might put in more project management in a project structure. And for your senior managers, maybe you give them the Power BI dashboards with more visibility, and we look at those. So if we go back to our demo and we click home again, and at this stage we assume we have decided in our project management strategy what we wish to do in our evolve based on the initial thinking we had a couple of months back, but based on the feedback we're getting from people on the ground. So so if I look here at my projects and I look at this particular project, which is a solution deployment project, you'll see that the amount of project management I have includes what was in Project Light, but it also adds status reports, which I'll come back to in a second. It also adds actions. Oh, this is project structured. My apologies. My apologies. Let me go back there. Let me go back there. So this is the one I want to show you in a minute. I picked the wrong one. I was wondering how there was so much in it. There we go. So this is an example of a project standard template that comes out of the box. And this template has everything that was in Project Light, as I said. So it has charter status. Status is like your real-time what's happening with the project. But status reports, which we'll come back to in a minute, are the ability to very quickly create status report and send it on to folks. So we have the team and the Gantt and the My Work and the docs as before. In this case, we've added actions. Actions are items that we don't want to fall between the cracks, just stuff we've got to do, maybe to come up with meetings, but they're not really schedule dependent. We're not formally putting them on the work breakdown structure or the task list. And issues are, as they suggest, issues are items that we're concerned about. And instead of being concerned about, we're working the worry by logging the issues. So we're logging the issues and maybe assigning it to people and making sure that those issues get resolved and not ignored. So essentially what we're doing here is we're adding more project management in the project standard template, or whatever you call it. You could call it something different, of course, a template of your own naming and of your own amount of project management. And what you're doing is you're maturing or evolving the amount of project management so that less and fewer projects are challenged or in trouble. So if I go to status reports, actually, if I click status there, you see this is the status of the project. So we'll say, it's kind of about, we reckon we're about 2/3 of the way through the project. Now, the way this particular one, and you can change the settings, works is that the overall health in this case is governed by, how you're doing with the time and the scope, and you can have these automatically changed, or you can fire these. You can update these manually. So, for example, if I click red here, and if the time is red or the scope is red, then I've said my project should be red. So that's what's happening here. So, and then I can add color commentary about why I'm very worried about this project and so on. You can see that the dates of the project are rolling up from the schedule. So if you think they're not the right dates, you go in and you would update your schedule. So you go to status report, then you click new status report as a project manager. And then what happens is the project status report is scraping the information from your project. So if you look on the right-hand side, it's pulling up the indicators and your KPIs and your comments. It's pulling up the start and finish dates, the progress, and of course it's pulling the name of the project, the portfolio, the program, and what stage it's in, and so on. And then you can say what period is this ending. So this is ending, ending by September 13, because I forgot to put in my status report last week. Key accomplishments, and I can add in some text here. And then I've also the option to email this to the sponsor, to the project team, and I can include additional people that I think might be interested in this. And when I'm ready, I just click status report and it goes on its merry way. People get a nice picture of this in their email. And when you come back here, that status report is cataloged on this project as the status report for this period ending. So you always have the live status, and then you can go at the last official status report. So that's an example of one evolve you might make, which is adding more project management with something like our project standard template. You could also add even more project management, like the one I accidentally showed you a couple of minutes ago. So we go back to it now. So you can see it is everything that is in light and standard, and it's called structured because it's more out to the right in terms of more project management. And it includes, for example, risks, and it includes a risks process, and you can trim this down as you wish, of course. So what's the risk? How do we mitigate the risk? And what contingency would we take if the risk occurs? And you can workflow that risk through. You also have costs and communications. So again, what you have here is you have more project management and more control over the project. And why would you want more project management? Well, some projects require more project management, and some teams are ready for more project management, thereby evolving and maturing your project management and giving you better project, program, and portfolio outcomes. Now, one of the things I want to show you in here, the the Gantt, or the schedule we looked at earlier, as you can see, with no harm to have a quick look at it again here. It includes things like, tasks and dependencies, and if you kind of, move this task out, then it elongates the task and it connected tasks, and as you would expect. But then the question is, how is this scheduling done? So if I go into project settings, and again, I can only see this as a project manager. And if I go into schedule settings, you see here that currently the global settings for all projects set by the project office is, projects work Monday to Friday. But I could actually change this, and I could say, well, actually, we're working a 4-day week for this project, or I could actually say we start on a Sunday from a different part of the world, and we work Sunday, Monday through Thursday, and we take Friday and Saturday off as our weekend. So I have the ability to do that. I also have the ability to say, well, look, there are certain days that are defined as non-working days. So for example, July 4th in the US, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. So certain days are non-working days. Maybe if the group you're working with have, 2 weeks out, like it could be, company shutdown, or it could be company meetings or whatever. So certain times I don't want scheduled. So they could be defined at a global level. And then you have the option as a project manager to override some of those and say, well, actually, we do need to work July 4th because it's a store opening, and unfortunately, we need to work it, but people will get time off later or whatever. So you have schedule settings, and you have the ability to change those schedule settings at the local level if it's appropriate for your project. But now you're actually doing that. I mean, you can do it on any project, but in reality, you're probably doing it for some of the more sophisticated projects. So a third thing you might want to do is, remember, and this is our first evolve, project standard, more project management, project structured, even more project management. And then what you may wish to do is, if you haven't already done it, is introduce Power BI powered dashboards, and we ship a bunch with the product out of the box with BrightWork 365. So for example, if you could say, well, look, I just want to see the ones in this portfolio, and I just want to see this in the company operations program, or I just want to see the projects managed by Eamonn. And you can see they're changing down here, and then I can click and get into the project. So you've got a sophisticated Power BI set of dashboards for senior management to be able to navigate to quite easily, and to be able to drill in and out of to see what's going on. So they have that visibility so they can exert that control. So if I click project status here, for example, I can click which project would I like to see, and what's the project dashboard for that, and other dashboards that come with that as well. So your first evolve might be responding to where you are after your start, responding to where you desire to get to anyway, and you gradually roll out more project management through the use of our templates or configured versions of them, like project standard, structured, and Power BI reports. And then you let that bed in for a while. And then hopefully, and our customers do find that your project management outcomes are becoming better, but you think they could still be better. We could improve. We could get even better. So at this stage, maybe what you decide to do is, maybe your second evolve is, well, let us introduce formal request management, project request management. And maybe we'll start looking at resource utilization. And maybe we'll start configuring our projects even more. Now, of course, you don't have to do these items in the sequence. This is just an example. So if we go back to the demo, and if we look at each of these three candidates, so if we look at the request management, so if I click on requests here, and for example, if I look at all requests. And maybe if I just use the filter and I look for this original project that I had, the hardware upgrade project, and this is the original request that led to that project, should I choose to use request management and this level of governance. So here I have the information that was filled in, and there could have been documents added, the reason for the request. And of course, you can configure this form to have more or less information, but it's a request that people can make. Here I have the approvals that brought that request on its merry way. Here I have the history of who approved what and when, what they said. And here I have the project details of the resulting project that was created as a result. And actually, if you go to the project in question, and if the project in question was created by a request, there will be a link from the project to the originating request. Now, the request, and actually you also have an audit history here if you want to see exactly who changed what field on when and when on this particular request, so you can learn from that. Now, we also have a request app. So if you think of the functionality I've just showed you, and you think of someone requesting a new project, and you might have a lot of people just requesting projects, and you might want to pay for such a license. So there's a BrightWork license that doesn't cost, where you can roll out the request app to anybody you want, and they can just request projects, and you can use that to control the flow or the funnel of requested projects. So that might be one thing you roll out in your second Evolve. Another thing you might want to do are more sophisticated dashboards, maybe looking at resource management. So for example, and I just click F11 here to get a larger screen. So you can see here that I'm going in 1 week blocks, and I'm seeing in pink who's over allocated, in gray who's under allocated, and in kind of light orange who's not allocated at all. And if I go to my resource dashboard, I can say, well, that was looking at 6 weeks, but I really want to look at the next 4, and I want to look at the next 4 calendar months. And then it updates, as you can see here on the right. And if I go back to my resource utilization dashboard, I can see it. And if I click here, I can just see it by month, October, November, December, January, and I can see my utilization. And if I click in here, and I can look across Eamonn, and I can look at the various projects, or I can look across Dan Bacon and see what projects Dan is on, and see what tasks is assigned, and how much work is assigned for each, and so on. So if you wish, and not everybody will, you can evolve or mature your project management with more resource utilization. And then maybe the last thing just to show you, and then we'll go to questions. So I'm going to go to the templates area, and I'm going to go to project templates as an example. And I'm going to go to that project light template. So this is the project light template, which is the first one. So remember I said we have these templates out of the box, and they're described on our website. And the templates you can, of course, copy and call them your own name, and then you can configure them. So for example, down here, we see that there's a business process flow. In other words, is there a flow to your project, like start the project, middle and end, or planning the project, executing, closing, or initiating, or it could be a new product introduction, like business case, feasibility, product development, launch. So you decide the stages of your project, and then your stages will appear here automatically, and you can decide if you're going from one stage to the other, do you want it approved or not? And that's all configurable here. And then you also you also have the ability to see what shows up on your project. So if I collapse all here, you can see on the project light we have a charter, status, the team, the Gantt, the schedule, the my work, the 6 items. And you might say, well, look, I really like the status reports. I really like the status reports. So I'm going to add that in. And when I look at status, these are the indicators, health and that, and I only had health there, but you know what? I'm going to add scope as well. So you have the ability to modify the templates we give you and use them, or just copy them. And if you copy them, you literally take one and just create a copy and then make your own changes. So you get a sense of the configuration ability that you have so that you can start evolve with your project management. Okay, so this would have been, your second evolve. So I'm going to pass back to Mihal in a sec, and I see there are some questions on the stack, but what I'm going to ask you to do is, please add more of your questions, and I think we said we'd finish at 45 minutes after, so we'll probably run until about then, and then we'll stop the recording to keep it a timely recording like we promised. And if there are folks who wish to stay on and ask more questions, we'd be happy to do so as well. So, Michal, I'm going to pass to you at this stage to guide us through the next piece of the webinar.
Yeah, no worries. I guess we asked you earlier, are you using Microsoft 365? And I guess we're just asking, would you now consider using BrightWork 365 in your Microsoft 365 environment? Just based off what you've seen, maybe you'd definitely like to, but maybe you would like to use it, but you have a couple of questions. Maybe you'd like to see more first, which is very fair. As we've only kind of showed the tip of the iceberg today, so that would be reasonable. So most people are saying yes, that they would like to see more. So that we're very grateful to hear that. And so I'm going to let that run for a little bit longer. And I'm also, folks, going to give you a link to just bear with me now. I'm going to close that out. Thank you very much, folks. That's great. So most people have said yes. And some people said they've got some questions. Some people would like to see more first. That's great, but nobody said no. So, folks, you will be contacted tomorrow by our colleague Adam. But in the meantime, if you would like to organize a custom demonstration and you'd like to see how BrightWork 365 could address your specific project and portfolio management needs, I have just dropped in a link to Adam's calendar, and Eamonn has showed Adam's contact details there. But I just dropped that link in the chat there if you would like to book 15 minutes in his calendar to have a quick chat about your specific questions. Okay, let's have some questions. And folks, again, add as many questions as you'd like to the questions panel. First question here, Eamonn. I love this question. It's a very 2024 question. When you say we will help you develop a project success strategy, is we a human or is it AI?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's a human, yeah. So we have, and I flashed it on the screen a little bit earlier, we have a project management success strategy approach that is part of our START approach, and one of our team will accompany you through the START. So all customers, yeah, will take the START service, and a human will bring you through and get you started quite quickly, using all the methods that we've talked about here, and setting you up with that project management success strategy. So the human, in short answer to your question, will not only get you started in an efficient and an effective way, but will also work with you so that there's a strategy that you can use going forward, and we'd be happy to help you with that going forward as well. So we're really, I mean, if you think of the name title of today's session was setting up a centralized project management office. What we really want to do is help you do that. is set up a centralized project management office. And you know the old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, and if it was, we'd have used their architects. So what you're really trying to do here is you're really trying to make sure that not only is the software up and running, but that the project management, portfolio management approach is up and running.
And of course, people have different ways of learning, so that people will work with their customer success partner. But I'm not sure if you covered it early on in the demonstration, but we also have the knowledge base, which might be worth sharing again, um, which is
Yeah,
an invaluable resource.
yeah, let me do that now. Why not? Yeah. I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't demo it. So that's a good point, Neil. So for example, if I go into customers, I'm in the knowledge base now here, and I go to customer success, and actually if I go, there's our deployment approach, for that start. So we go design, deliver, deploy. Very well laid out, actually, even with audios kind of explaining it as well. And then if I come back here, we have training. So in the knowledge base, so training on, for example, if I'm a project manager, training. And then included in it is, it's not just kind of rigid tool training, or it includes the project management context. I'm initiating a project and so on. Yeah, so that's a really important part of the solution as well. And that knowledge base will be used as part of the start service.
Excellent. Al has a question about controlling visibility between team members. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. So um, I'm and Al, I'm going to answer what I think your question is. But if I get the question wrong, you could just clarify the question, please. Um, so in this version of BrightWork 365, which we looked at, it's quite open in that, if you give someone access um, to a portfolio program, they see all projects in it. Um, our customers have requested a change, which we're about to deliver. Actually, we're in September already, so it'll be um, sometime in October or very early November. So October, November. So pretty imminent anyway. We've finished this development. We're just in the testing phase at the moment, where we're rolling out pretty advanced security for those who want it. So for example, if you have a portfolio of marketing, then only marketing people can see it if that's what you want. If you have a portfolio of product development or finance, only those people can see it if that's what you want. And senior managers can see across all. Now, if you've got secret projects, confidential projects, and you want just a few people in those and you don't want anyone else to see it, you can also do that as well. So at the moment we have, if you give someone access, they can see all the projects. And as I say, we're finished the development and doing the testing for the next release of an optional set of much more secure access mechanisms. Al, if I didn't answer the question, do come back and ask me, please.
Yeah, no, he responded and said awesome. So I think we got to it, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
there,
I
there's
know
one
actually
question that
also Al, it's
yeah,
quite sophisticated in that. Sorry, Mio, in that, for example, if you if you set up your security a certain way and you've got these people in marketing and these in product development and these in finance and these confidential ones here, and then you go, oops, something has changed. We've put in the ability to move the projects and portfolios around and uh, manage the security at the same time. So there's also some other opportunities there that are quite sophisticated for the platform we're on.
uh, Pilar, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, He has a question about licensing, but I guess for now we might just kind of direct Pilar to our website with the pricing page, which I can send a link to. But if there's anything you want to add to that, Eamon, before we jump off that topic,
Yeah, it's where's my browser here? We show it to you. You're going to pop the you're going to
I'll pop a link in the chat.
pop the link anyway, yeah, and there's the pricing. It I don't know. For all you've seen, I think it's reasonably inexpensive. Certainly when we compared it to our competitors, only last week actually were a huge amount less. So, like I don't know, for the price of a lunch, if you have a small number of users, that's price per month, and if you have a lot of users, it's the price of a nice cup of coffee, one cup of coffee per month to let the folks in. So if you have a real need for project and portfolio management, it certainly wouldn't be the most expensive solution in the world. Hopefully, we like to think it's very good value.
Meredith, she says that they're using SharePoint as their company's intranet, and she's looking for a solution for that. So we probably would have follow-up questions for that, Meredith. But would
Yeah.
you?
So can it be easily differentiated? Yes. Yeah. So what you see, Meredith, is where's the solution again? Here we go. I think I clicked into the app. There's two ways you can look at it, Meredith. You can look at it in an app. So this actually is a Power Platform app, and you can also look at it through a browser. So it'd be quite easy to kind of launch it from your intranet and have it launch in the browsers off that. And you could also integrate some of the reporting into different parts of the internet and so on. So yeah. Now I assume when you say SharePoint, you're thinking of SharePoint Online. If you were thinking of SharePoint on-prem, the server version, then that would be BrightWork, which is the other product we have. So the BrightWork
If you go
365
to
from
product,
Microsoft
yeah.
365, and you've got BrightWork for SharePoint on-prem. If your company's intranet was SharePoint on-prem, so we've got those two covered, if you like.
Yeah, she clarified it was BrightWork, or sorry, it was Microsoft SharePoint Online, I
365.
should say. Sorry.
SharePoint Online. Good. Yeah. So
Yes.
that's Microsoft 365. Good.
I'm conscious of time, but I'll keep going. Pilar wants to know is the information generated stored in the organization's tenant? On the other hand, what other applications do you use from Microsoft 365?
Yeah. So the short answer to your question is yes. And that's one of the strengths of it. So this solution, though it's cloud-based, is in your cloud, your tenant. So you set up an environment within the tenant, a Dataverse Power Platform environment that's within your Microsoft 365 tenant. So you have to have access to your tenant. You have to have a username password to your tenant, Microsoft 365 one, to get access to same. And then we use what other ones do we use? Actually, it's kind of conveniently on this slide here. The the top right one here is the Power Platform one, and that's Power Apps, and the very top Power BI, Power Automate for workflow, Power BI for reporting, Power Apps for processes. We export stuff to Excel. We Teams integration, send stuff to email and Outlook, SharePoint Online for document management, Azure Active Directory for security and groups and so on. So really a huge amount of Microsoft 365 is used within the solution, because we know that you have access to all that stuff in there. Yeah.
Excellent. So, folks, I'm just going to take an opportunity to say, because we've gone a little bit over time, if you do need to drop off, that's absolutely fine. As I said before, Adam will be in contact with you tomorrow with with the slides that we used today, and also a recording of the demonstration. If you do need to watch it back or you want to share it with your colleagues, it's absolutely no problem at all. So keep an eye on that. Um, so we're just going to stop the recording now, but if we're going to stay on here and answer any more questions that come in. So please do stay on if you have more questions, but I just want to give people the opportunity to leave if they want to.